Hi and welcome to Indigo Starfire. My name is Bevin, and in this video I'm going to be looking into the question, what good things are people saying about you behind your back? There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the orange Selenite, along with this group of cards. Group 2 is the Larvikite, along with this group of cards. And group 3 is the clear quartz, along with this group of cards. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to, I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the orange Selenite, along with this group of cards. So go through each one individually and let's see what are some good things that people are saying about you behind your back. The first one that we have is air, seeking a union of mind and spirit. So this relates to people being very impressed by and telling others about your intelligence, your ability to not just jump to conclusions, but to really be open-minded to the perspectives of other people, any sort of fixed impressions that you might have had about individuals, circumstances, belief systems. You are very tied to those things, but at the same point in time, other people in their experience have noticed that you are willing to take in new information, to adapt your beliefs to different circumstances. You're not somebody who's afraid to admit when you are wrong and to apologize when necessary. We also have the black cat. Your luck will change soon. So this ties into your intuition being something that people really admire. They notice within you an instinct. That can be an instinct to anticipate danger and to course correct, to kind of avert disaster in your own life, maybe even advice that you have given to other people that they have followed that has helped them to avoid pitfalls. Or the other side of that coin can talk about advice that you've given to others or following your own intuition to lead in the direction of opportunities. These two cards combined also really tie into the fact of knowing when something has reached its expiration date. Maybe that is a relationship, something having to do with work or career, or even a version of yourself that has been presented to the outside world. And despite the fact that these different things at various points in time might have been very important to you or sort of the bedrock around which you had built your life, you are somebody who is quick to adapt, to change, to move in new directions when you sense or notice that stagnation has started to set in, or that you are no longer experiencing the same level of resonance at a deep core level with certain things that you at one point in time did. There's an energy here with the black cat as well of a strong independent streak within you that other people really admire, as well as it feels like with all of these kind of hieroglyphics here and sort of esoteric symbols, this can tie into kind of arcane knowledge that you have, or sort of a mystical streak about you, kind of like an otherworldly access point to seeing into some of the more deeper or subtle layers of reality than other people are really able to do. So there's almost like a sense of awe or wonder when you talk about things or you produce kind of like knowledge, things that you might resonate with spiritually speaking that are very impressive to other people. There may be a level of curiosity about the things that you are involved in rather than kind of approaching this from a fear-based paradigm. It feels like of the way in which you have either expressed or conveyed your beliefs, or you embody those personally, it helps to sort of alleviate a shroud of mystery and any sort of fear-based polarities that at face value, based on certain things, without having kind of that background access, or knowing someone on an interpersonal level, it might be something that feels a little foreign, a little inaccessible. It might be something that ordinarily people might kind of look at in more of a fearful way or an apprehensive way, but there's something about the way you embody certain beliefs or practices that really helps to open the mind of others, that these things are not necessarily darkness in a negative sense, but more in terms of like primal or primordial sort of elements, archetypal things within human consciousness, within various kind of cultures and structures. And so it feels to be something that there are people who you have interacted with, maybe that are in your life currently, or even that have just sort of passed through your life, where you've helped to really expand and open their mind to different sort of beliefs and practices, the exploration of different things on a spiritual level than they might have initially been drawn toward, or that they'd had a certain impression of. But by meeting you, experiencing time and exchange with you, it's helped to really shift in a positive direction for them, sort of taking down a bit of almost like superstition, and seeing beyond all of that, beyond sort of the fear-based paradigms and polarities, and understanding that there's actually a richness to that. There's a lot of subtlety and nuance to whatever your particular beliefs or practices are, to where it's almost, you've helped to alleviate sort of a very limited perspective that people have had of certain things that you're involved in or that you're gravitating toward. Maybe even the idea of like a strong intuitive sense, the way in which you carry that, it doesn't come forth from a place of manipulation, but more from a place of just a higher access to understanding, that it feels like has encouraged other people to start to really explore that within themselves, or to hold space within that for themselves, rather than kind of fearing the unknown. You have embodied these things in such a way that it is inviting for these individuals to sort of explore their own internal mysteries, or things that they're drawn toward. And it feels like at least one person, perhaps even a collection of people, have credited you as somebody being the one who kind of opened their mind, opened their perspective to new things, or to exploration of intuitive gifts, psychic gifts and abilities that they might have previously sort of shut down, or had been a little bit scared of to explore within themselves. And we also have face your dragons. So this speaks to bravery, that other people notice that you are somebody who has no problem kind of transitioning between the light and shadow aspects within yourself. Maybe circumstances in your life that, are part of your backstory, or things that you're dealing with currently that at face value might be, difficult, or in actuality, the experiences themselves might be difficult, but it's a sense here of you are very brave in walking your path, or things that you've been through in the past that other people might have come out in kind of a pessimistic way, or sort of with a glass half empty attitude. Instead, you've sort of risen beyond these challenges. You've learned to kind of hold these things in a place within yourself with compassion. And if you shared your story with anybody about certain things in your life, kind of difficult things that you've been through, those individuals think very highly of you, are in admiration of the version of you that's come out the other side of trials and tribulations. And it feels to be something where, if those incidents or circumstances have come up in conversation with others, this would be something where these particular individuals who have dealt with you on an individual level would be very quick to kind of defend you, or to really point out the fact that you've come out better rather than worse for wear out of circumstances that you've been through. You're not somebody who runs away from the uncomfortable aspects within yourself, but you've really learned to sort of hold that in the same place as your strengths. And we also have focus. So people are seeing you as a very determined individual, determined to thrive, determined to succeed. Whatever you set your mind to, whatever the prize that you have your eye on is, you are very ingenious in how you kind of navigate towards that. Obstacles or things that might require leaps of faith, that others might sort of look at that challenge and say, that's a little too difficult, it's a little too outside of my comfort zone. Others really see you as somebody who you are not afraid to kind of chart your own course to success in whatever way that looks like for you. Tying in with this idea of like face your dragons, this can also be something where you've taken challenges that you've experienced and turned those into opportunities. You see opportunity where others may only see difficulty, only see lack. And we also have the defender. So this speaks to a high level of integrity that you have. This is something also that ties into honesty. You're the type of person who says what they mean and means what they say. And a lot of what you speak about, it's the idea of kind of like practicing what you preach, which ties into the idea of intuition here. Something where you are a person who is trustworthy, who is somebody who gives really good advice, really good guidance. And a lot of that advice and guidance, it feels like, comes from direct life experience. Aside from whatever you may have read about, learned about in your studies or in your personal practices, there's almost a sense of certain core beliefs or things you feel very strongly about, you're able to not just back that up with empirical evidence, but also with life experience, where there's a level of trust that other people put in kind of guidance that you give or things that you share, anecdotes that you pass along about your life experiences that has led to a level of respect that individuals have for you, having sort of seen what you've been through, hearing what you've been through, or even kind of if these are people that sort of know you on more of like a casual level, there's just a sense, energetically speaking, of this version of you or whatever version of you it was that they were interacting with. It didn't just happen overnight. It wasn't just something you were born with. It's not just something innate within you, but there's kind of evidence that it has been built through struggle, that you are, very kind of morally centered. Your core kind of knowledge of self is really something that has allowed you to blossom into a fuller expression of yourself in a more authentic way than kind of other people that they might have met, rather than somebody who just has a lot of opinions about a lot of things. You may have facts to back those things up, or life experience which allows you to have certain beliefs, or to sort of say something with a level of conviction that might be lacking in somebody who is just sort of a casual observer of things. We also have betrayal. So this ties into more of that energy of kind of facing your shadows, any sort of trials and tribulations that you've been through. People are seeing you as somebody who is very capable of, and perhaps on one occasion or more than one occasion, you've risen from the ashes. You've done what is necessary in order to rebuild, recreate yourself. There's a sense of confidence as well that people really place within you. Kind of the idea of in the storms of life, you're the type of individual that other individuals would want on their team, by their side, not just for kind of the depth and level of your intuition and your ability to kind of read between the lines, but also this aspect of being very knowledgeable of self, and with that kind of capitalizing on your strengths, and making compensation for the deficits within, in a very non-judgmental way. And with that kind of ties into, again, people that may have direct knowledge of things that you've been through, or that may know you on more of a casual level, and it's just sort of intuited, energetically speaking, that you've worked very hard to kind of build this version of yourself, whatever that is, but you also are not afraid to start over, to try again, to salvage what you can, and kind of use instances of change or things that fall apart as opportunities to kind of improve on things, or to improvise when necessary. We also have the pest. So this is tying into kind of a fun sense of humor. I'm hearing cheeky. So you might be somebody who, is good at kind of cracking jokes, lightening the mood of circumstances. This can also tie into something where you may use humor to kind of deflect pressure within situations. You help others to sort of look on the bright side, to take a different perspective in terms of different sort of circumstances that they are experiencing at any given moment. It's a sense of laughter being medicine in and of itself. So your sense of humor is something that other people really respond to. They really admire that. They may see even kind of a bit of a jokester energy about you as something that is very endearing. And we also have the dragon sword. So this is speaking about a level of personal integrity, personal truth. This also ties into like Ace of Swords energy that we have here as well with the defender, and can allude to a strong connection with your higher self or with the angelic realm. Archangel Michael's coming through with these energies. So, that might be, you might work well with him or very closely with him. He might be one of your, your spirit guides, guardian angel. But there's a sense here almost again of kind of this idea of, in situations of conflict, you're the kind of person that people would want by their side because you're going to find solutions. You're brave enough to kind of face the fire in whatever way that sort of resonates for you. And there's also the sense of kind of like an earth angel energy here. So even if, as it ties into this idea of kind of humor, it might even be that certain people, you've really helped to kind of pick them up or sit with them during periods of their own personal darkness, and the level of honesty that you bring forth, or even kind of cracking jokes, has helped them to sort of lighten their own mood, see on the bright side of things, to understand that this too shall pass. There's a sense here of almost people who, more than one person who considers you to be almost like a godsend or a blessing in their life, that may think of you as an earth angel, may have referred to you in that sense to other people, that you are a blessing in the lives of others, and not from this place of, you come forth kind of unscathed by the nature of life and the nature of reality, but it's something about kind of the version of you that has been challenged and tested and kind of forged over and over again, that at various points in sort of your life there are currently people who sort of look at that as an inspiration. If you can endure, if you can come through things with a smile on your face, what is everybody else's excuse for not sort of doing the same? And it's something which is a very it's very a positive sort of impact that kind of energy has had. We also have animal guardian, trust your instincts. So more of that essence of a very strong intuition. This can also tie into the idea of being very good with animals, or animals being naturally drawn towards you, more of that earth angel energy. This also ties into the fact that you make people feel very comfortable being themselves. People feel very accepted in your presence, for better or worse. You're the type of person that helps to sort of heal wounds within others without even meaning to. Your light, your presence, your living example, even kind of like jokes that you make that help to sort of take individuals' attention away from their own pain and suffering, and start to kind of move toward that higher polarity or higher vibration. And we also have elder, move beyond ancestral patterns. So more of that energy of wisdom, highly in tune with the spirit realm, with your spirit team, passed on loved ones, more of a sense of almost like a nurturing energy, a trustworthy energy. That you are a person that kind of embodies leadership qualities because you are that living example. You don't just give the advice, you really practice what you preach in a lot of ways. And so this is something where you very innately may kind of have people coming towards you and sort of telling you their life story, coming to you for advice, because there's something about you energetically speaking that just draws people in. This is somebody who's trustworthy. This is somebody who's been through experiences in life that has kind of earn them the capacity to have space held for whatever it is that they want to say. So a lot of really good things here that people, it feels like past and present, have been saying behind your back. A lot of admiration for who you are and the level of kind of knowledge of self you have, and the integrity with which you move through the world in accordance to that. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. D, O, Y, U, P, N, M, J, S, V, B, A, L, U, and V. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. You chose the Larvikite. So let's see, what good things are people saying behind your back? We have the King, authority and diplomacy. So people see you as a very determined person, a leader in your life as opposed to a follower, somebody who is not afraid to blaze a very unique trail for yourself if you are feeling dissatisfied with maybe the options that are out there that can tie into things as far as careers. So maybe you do something very unique for a living. This can also tie into the idea of people with kind of like multiple income streams, something where you think outside of the box. This is a hard worker kind of energy here, almost like everything you touch turns to gold, or you really kind of inspire others to sort of hold themselves to a higher standard, to look at themselves and sort of the way in which they're using this time on earth, or the life that they have been living for themselves, dreams that may have been deferred or kind of pushed aside for another day. A living example that you embody. Maybe this is something where you're actively working toward a goal. You're working and going to school, or doing something kind of after hours that might be a passion project that you're really trying to kind of get off the ground. And it's something that others around you who are aware of these things, they really admire that about you, and it helps and has helped to inspire them to maybe take off the shelf things that they had thought, I'm too old to do that, or there's too much competition, or it's kind of a lofty dream, or I don't know how I'm going to kind of turn that dream into a reality. And something about kind of the way that you live your life, or your focus and priorities, inspires others to kind of want more for themselves, dream bigger, or to allow themselves to really embrace that sort of dreamy quality within them. And we also have the Key. Locked doors can now be open. So this speaks to the idea of wisdom and guidance that you have given to others that has helped to illuminate solutions where they had only sort of previously seen obstacles. This is something where they see you as like a fount of wisdom, the type of person that is a really good problem solver. So you might have a lot of people coming to you for advice, or kind of in their darkest hour, you're someone that can be relied upon or turned to. You helped people to sort of see the silver lining out of situations. And this speaks to something where this might even be people who and this can go kind of beyond like what they're saying behind your back that's good, but it almost might be positive change for themselves, where people might be almost kind of mimicking what it is that you do in terms of a focus. That might be literally something you're doing, or the way in which you sort of structure your day. That you're very disciplined, you're very focused, you're very goal oriented, and it has helped to inspire people to kind of get out of their own way and sort of follow suit with what you're doing. Maybe that's carving out time after your sort of regular job, kind of after hours, to work on something that, you know, is important to you, that's a dream of yours, and there's at least one other person in your life who has taken note of that, and whether or not they've told you about this or not, they have also kind of created shifts within themselves, carved out time. Rather than kind of waiting for the perfect time, they're looking towards you and making time for themselves in their own way to work toward goals, work toward bigger dreams, work to find solutions, rather than just be kind of bogged down with the idea of, you know, it's too much, or something that I'll do tomorrow, or it's too lofty of a goal or dream. We also have established sanctuary. So you help people to feel very comfortable in their own skin, very accepting of themselves. You set a very good example of what it means to be a safe space for oneself. And this can tie into almost like the honoring of components of you that might have a very different kind of need for a creative outlet, for example, that is different from what you're doing in terms of how you make your money ordinarily. And kind of that might look very different, that kind of 9 to 5 job or whatever you do for a paycheck, versus kind of a special interest that you might have that you're working on, and a level of kind of comfort that you have, that those two versions of yourself might be very different, but you hold space for that. You make time for that. You prioritize that, and it encourages others to really do the same. This can also speak to the idea of you have been a shoulder for certain individuals to cry on, that has really helped them to kind of move beyond blocks, or move beyond grief, or kind of difficulties that they faced in their own life. And now that they've kind of turned a corner, had some sort of breakthrough, they credit you very specifically as being someone that's really help to unlock, maybe even just feedback or words of wisdom, or holding space for these individuals has helped them to really progress forward on their own journey in a very positive way. And that's something that they directly credit you for to other people. We also have court the divine feminine. So they see you as somebody who is very self-loving, very nurturing. You know, you're not afraid to kind of like set up boundaries and barriers if you feel that your energy is off, or it's depleted. That you really, again, kind of set this example of carving out time for oneself, for the act of relaxation, not as something that is earned, but as an innate kind of right or need on a human level. And that this is something that it feels like you've helped to inspire others, maybe people that you know that are like workaholics, or are very driven, very goal oriented, very wrapped up in the idea of like trying to manifest a dream or goal, and constantly pushing toward that, or constantly trying to remain fixed on that idea of whatever that sort of yield or end result will be. And it's something where, through your process of like manifestation, where you also allow yourself periods of time to sort of shift your focus elsewhere, or, you know, just kind of tend to what you need to tend to within yourself, even if it's just sort of, you know, turning off the technology, kind of going into hermit mode for a period of time, a day, a week, a weekend, you know, whatever it is that looks like for you. It's really helped to inspire others as kind of like the missing link, the key within themselves to moving more towards sort of that well-balanced life. They see you as somebody where you're able to really fill your own cup as well. Contrary to almost situations or circumstances where, you know, you can encounter someone who's very emotionally draining, they see you as almost the opposite end of that spectrum. Time spent with you is very emotionally filling and fulfilling. You are not somebody who drains other people's energies, nor will you tolerate having your energy drained and depleted. And the balance that you have in that capacity, there are individuals who have taken a cue from your playbook, and it's helped to really improve or maximize their own energy levels, so that they're able to kind of meet their needs, meet what is required of them through the day, just to kind of pay their bills or kind of tend to those duties and obligations and responsibilities. But rather than being so kind of drained and depleted at the end of all of that, something as far as your living example, maybe suggestions that you've made to other people, things that you're involved in, practices like yoga or meditation, or even just, again, kind of taking that quiet time to self, indulging in self-care in whatever way that looks like for you. It's been instrumental for certain other individuals in kind of locating or creating that energetic reservoir within themselves, filling that up so that there is time for kind of these other things that matter, other passion projects that they're wanting to work on, or even just the devotion of time to self in order to be able to have more, energetically speaking, to give to those duties and responsibilities and kind of, the day-to-day reality. And we also have searching. So they see you as somebody who is very inquisitive. It's almost like a detective energy, that even kind of talking to you about things, it's an adventure. You help people to sort of see things from a different perspective, or you're somebody who's really good at kind of coming up with unorthodox solutions to things that people might not have even known were a problem within themselves, or something that might have almost been, kind of just a nagging question within. You're that type of person that you may have a lot of fun facts in your mind, or you're really good at like researching things, or the way that your mind works and your imagination works. It's almost like creative solutions come through this process of questions and answers. This is something where it's made a very positive impression on others, that you're not afraid to kind of get up and try again. You're not somebody that's easily deterred by what would commonly be described as like a failure. If something doesn't work the first time, you're willing to sort of shift directions, move in a new manner, approach something from a multifaceted way until you kind of get the yield that it is that you are looking for. And we also have desire. So this can definitely speak about your energy is very delicious to other people, or certain other individuals might find you very physically attractive. Something about your style, something about the way that you dress, or you do your hair, you do your makeup, or your accessories. It's something that it's very unique. It's very authentic. It's just something about you that others find very appealing. It may encourage them to sort of see sort of what resonates with them, to sort of not necessarily follow trends, but to start to operate in a more kind of unique and individual way. Or it's something where kind of even just on a very sort of surface level, you're very pleasing to the eye. Time spent in your company is something where not only is it enriching kind of in this inspirational and sort of go-getter way, but you're easy on the eyes. You're very attractive, even in kind of a natural state, even with no makeup, or kind of messy bun sort of style on top of your head. There's something that at least one individual in your life is it adds to the measure of their experience to kind of be in your company. There's a sense here of almost like, wow, someone like that would give me the time of day, and so it's a very positive impact upon that person. And we also have the compassionate. So this ties into being a very good listener, somebody who is very accepting of other people. You're willing to not just judge someone at face value, but you really take the time to get to know people before forming an opinion. This may also be something where you are drawn towards you hold space in your life for people that others might deem as like misfits, sort of like the wallflowers, or a little bit of almost like the outcast kind of energy. You're somebody who would be very quick to go befriend those people. There may have been people that were kind of even introverted, and you've brought out kind of more of an extrovert within them, or you've held space for those individuals, kind of adapted your style. Maybe you yourself are very introverted, and so you found almost like a kindred spirit, somebody or people that you can connect with on sort of a deep and intimate level that might otherwise be kind of overlooked by others. And this is a quality that people look at very admirably. This can also speak about kind of compassion toward donating your time, giving money, even things that you spread awareness about, certain causes that might not necessarily be sort of the most popular and well-known things, but it might be something that you bring other people's attention to, sort of the overlooked, the underrepresented, and that this is something where it's not just kind of preaching in that capacity, but it's almost like you have imbued yourself with that, or it's something that you spend a lot of time, or a level of devotion with it, that has helped to kind of open people's minds to need in a different sense, and what it really means to kind of give back. And we also have the giver. So that ties into more of that energy of like good advice, heartfelt advice. There's something about a level of authenticity as well. Words that you speak, even just holding space very quietly for people during times of trouble, or being a big encourager of others to kind of move toward their goals and dreams. This is something that it feels like has had a very positive impact. That feels like there's at least one individual that you might have been the only person that kind of understood, or even if you didn't understand the full details of it, you held space for a dream that might have been kind of unconventional, or that others in their life might have laughed at, or didn't support, and yet you were there kind of through a period of time maybe where you were working on something for yourself. And so it's almost like you and this other individual have kind of worked in tandem with one another to bringing these unconventional dreams out of a space of just kind of private contemplation into more of sort of the ever-present reality. This can tie into, as well, kind of giving people the opportunity, it feels like, to explore, to experiment, to kind of walk their own path. Again, this open-mindedness, there's a huge energy here of being very non-judgmental. It ties into the idea of, perceptions of beauty, and like if we could see people at the soul level as compared to kind of like physical interpretations of beauty, that idea of what makes someone beautiful would be so different if you're taking into account kind of the essence, the energy of what a person is. And so that's something that you are able to, or you speak to, or you reach people on that level that is beyond skin deep. You really kind of, you overlook apparent flaws, or qualities and characteristics about people, maybe even on sort of like an emotional level, or in terms of how they interact with others, that might not at first glance be kind of looked at as necessarily attractive or desirable qualities. You see through to the core of individuals, and you hold space, or have held space for people, maybe even in times in their life when they've been largely abandoned by others. You've been that sanctuary. You've been that friend. You've been that companion. And it's something that has really helped, it feels like, to open at least one individual's eyes to the fact that there is still compassion in this world. There still are good people in this world. You might have really been a lifesaver for somebody without even knowing it. Just the fact that you'd give them the time of day, or that you've engaged in conversation, or the nature of what you've talked about, your living example, and how that had motivated someone to kind of pick themselves back up, give themselves another opportunity to press forth toward living a different kind of life, or reaching for goals and dreams, even when it seemed maybe that all was lost, or that it was kind of a hopeless or fruitless pursuit. We also have Druid, hold the space. So again, this energy of just your sheer presence, your aura, your light, who you are as an individual. That is something where it feels like just beyond words, that this is something that just who you are as a person, everything about you, the way you look at the world, the way you present yourself, the way that you hold space for others' individuality, you make people feel very seen for who they are, rather than kind of like saying, oh, reach for that best or better version of self. It's almost like no matter what phase people are in their own personal journey, whether the chips are up or the chips are down for them in terms of abundance or how they're feeling about themselves or whatever's going on in their life, it's almost like you'll sit with people in that darkness until they are able to find their own light again. And it feels like for at least one person, this has been something that has been very life changing. Your presence in kind of their darkest hour is something that has been a very formative experience, and it's something that they speak very highly of you in the aftermath of that. And we also have White Witch, be the light. So this speaks to, again, that healing presence of your energy. Something about you that almost just radiates compassion. The advice you give, your presence, your companionship, how you move through the world, your priorities, your goals. They sort of see you as somebody who's almost like a master alchemist in a way, without even sort of meaning to, just gravitating toward individuals. Maybe something that has to do with kind of like intuition, knowing the right time when someone needs you to reach out to them without even knowing it. You kind of say the right thing, or you kind of extended that sort of communication, or that kind of kind gesture, or even just kind of sitting quietly with people without them kind of like needing to ask, needing to sort of reach out, needing to ask for help, that you just sort of intuit that, you illuminate that. You are that living example of kind of the way to sort of shift the focus away from challenges, towards kind of like bigger dreams, bigger goals, a larger degree of acceptance for oneself at any given point in time. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. A, X, N, F, C, O, Z, R, Y, G, C, E, A, I, L, M, R, L, W, Q, and E. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the clear quartz. So let's see, what good things are people saying behind your back? We have the Knight, triumph over adversity. So this speaks about the energy of being a protector, being a defender, somebody who you may have come to the aid of or had spoken well of, had almost kind of instinctually jumped in and defended them. Maybe they were being bullied. People were speaking unkindly about them, saying some sort of untruth, or gossiping. And there's a sense of word got back to this individual that you stood up for them, or you're somebody who is not afraid to kind of like speak your personal truth, even if that's an unpopular opinion. You have a very acute sense of justice. You move in the direction of what is morally right as opposed to what is kind of popularly right. And this is something that is very inspirational. It feels that somebody or multiple people may even look at you as like their hero, or almost like a superhero in real life. And this can tie into maybe even challenges or adversity that you faced in your life, different Goliaths that you have dealt with, and rather than kind of just rolling over and succumbing to the situation, you stood up in the face of things that might have been dangerous or frightening, or kind of just almost insurmountable odds, and yet you were bound and determined to press forward in the direction of truth, in the direction of something better, or even the idea of kind of, rather than waiting around for a hero or a savior, you became that, or you are that for yourself. And it's something which really, it feels that it fills multiple people with a sense of awe, just this kind of level of bravery, this level of almost like you follow your internal compass no matter what the cost, no matter what sort of that entails, even if it involves kind of speaking opinions that are not popular, or going kind of against what is sort of maybe even people or situations that others might kind of cower to or would remain silent in the face of. Again, this really brings forth the mind of like bullying, or particular sort of a bully or like an oppressor kind of energy, that you've stood up to that person, you've stood up to that individual or that mindset. This can even involve kind of the breaking free of toxic patterns, ancestral patterns within yourself or within your life. And people that know about that, they see this as very valiant, very brave on your part, that the easier route would have just been to go with the motions, go with the status quo, go with whatever your established pattern was, if this speaks more of like toxic cycles, and you instead chose the road less traveled, the more difficult course of action to break free of these things and forge a new trail in a different direction. We also have the talisman. You are destined to succeed. So people see you as somebody that is highly protected in a divine sense. And it feels that this is something that has to do with the fact that, again, you sort of follow your internal compass as opposed to what groupthink might have to say about certain things. Or rather than kind of just going along with the crowd, you really sort of check in with yourself and say, does this resonate with kind of what feels right to me as an individual? And on at least one occasion, it has involved you standing up to or breaking free from like what everybody else was doing. And in that sense, you almost kind of move deeper into a place of alignment with this level of divine protection, because you've honored kind of your own personal truth. And that's something that other people kind of look at with admiration. Almost like being in your presence is like having a lucky charm, that to follow suit in that own way, or to really seek and find and kind of break the mold or narrative off of ingrained beliefs or ideas, or standing up to kind of the Goliaths in other individuals' own personal lives. They've noticed that the yield from that is positive change. You're somebody who looks in the face of fear and you move forth fearlessly nevertheless. And that's something that feels that is very highly remarked upon by other people, to other people about you. We also have burn sacred fire. So this speaks again to that energy of you are not afraid to burn bridges with people, situations, beliefs, lifestyle choices that are not healthy, that do not serve you, that don't contribute to kind of your perception of what your highest good is, or even some kind of internal compass that might have pulled you in a direction of needing to kind of burn bridges with certain people that were obstacles, that were standing in the way of that best version of you. And rather than kind of just kowtowing to whatever sort of the easier route would have been, it's almost like you valiantly have done what is necessary in order to create a new path free of distractions, free of limitations, free of kind of the bindings that had tethered you to a limited or toxic version of yourself or your surroundings. You have done that without hesitation, without fear. And this is something that, again, it brings forth like a heroic energy. You are at least one person's personal hero in this lifetime. We also have reclaim innocence. So this is that energy that ties in very beautifully with burn sacred fire. You are not afraid to burn bridges and start over again if necessary, to remake your life completely. There may have been people in your life that have witnessed at least one metamorphosis in who you are, things that you have needed to discard or move away from, or essentially kind of burn out of your life, that could have been very almost costly maneuvers. This can tie into kind of getting out of toxic relationships even, things that on various levels might have been unhealthy, and kind of what you needed to leave behind. That might have been walking away from an entire life with another person. That might have been walking away from, financial stability, or like a shared home, even kind of the nature of a toxic cycle that you were stuck in with another individual, that you fearlessly sort of pushed all of that to the side, and maybe you left just with the clothes on your back, or with very little, or you kind of came out for all intents and purposes on a surface level sort of worse for wear, and yet you have claim the opportunity and have built for yourself something that far surpasses whatever that level of like comfort or containment was that you had experienced in like previous circumstances that you needed to sort of stand up and advocate for yourself for. This can also talk about walking away from like toxic jobs or friends groups, family situations, whatever that sort of looks like. That it's very inspirational the way that you have chosen kind of the path of personal integrity for you, even at the expense of other people maybe ostracizing you, choices that you've made to break free from certain things that could have resulted in losing more than just those kind of ties to the toxic things. There may have been people that didn't support your decision, or if it involved like a relationship that you had to walk away from, that might have cost you like friends or even family members that had sided with the other person. Nevertheless, you were willing and determined, and you successfully kind of moved forth. You have built a new life for yourself, or you're in the process of that. Some of you may have even just recently kind of cut ties with certain things, and you might still be in that fledgling stage of kind of discovering who you are again, reclaiming those kind of parts of yourself that were given away or were taken by virtue of the nature of whatever it was that you were involved in the past. And the act of even kind of giving yourself grace through the period of rebirth or rebuilding yourself, it's something which others look toward with deep admiration and respect. We also have abandonment. So this is more that energy of like doing what is best for you, reclaiming lost parts of yourself. This is something where people see that you have healed yourself on a certain level, or you are constantly in the process of kind of reinventing yourself, doing inventory on self and seeing, what about my life? What about my beliefs? What about the company that I'm keeping is making me stuck or stagnant, or is bringing out like a lower vibrational version of me, or is not the healthy choice, is not the path to the highest good? What needs to go in order for kind of the wholeness of me to be reclaimed, so that I feel good about the life that I'm living, so that I look back at the end of my life and am very satisfied with the choices made, rather than just enduring kind of the time on the planet. This is almost the energy of sort of other people seeing a very concerted, mindful, and consistent effort that you make to check in with yourself, and to also check yourself when you've kind of veered off course, when you've sort of sunken down into more of those toxic streams of thought or behavior or lifestyle. You're very quick to kind of course correct, that you're not somebody who points the finger of blame at nauseum or without reason, but you are also somebody who is fully willing to take responsibility for kind of wherever you are in life, wherever you have been in the past, that you're somebody who doesn't just think it's everybody else's fault, but you are also very astute at kind of taking the responsibility to remove yourself from situations or to remove people from your life or situations from your life that are simply bringing down your vibration, adding in toxicity, bringing out that kind of worst version of you in the interest of kind of living a better life or preserving your own integrity, rebuilding yourself. There's a sense too of kind of forgiveness of self, maybe through experiences that you've had in the past, things you've done, situations that you put yourself in or magnetized into your life, and the way in which you handle that with a level of maturity where it's almost like you're giving credit where credit is owed in terms of other people and their toxicity, but you're not somebody who shies away from sort of the true understanding that it takes two to tango on a certain level. And in that sense, kind of going deeply within to sort of work to heal your own shadow, the root wounds within you that might have tolerated or called in certain experiences into your life and into your reality. And that also is something that adds into this component of almost being a hero, that it's not just your acts of valor, but it's also your humility, your willingness to kind of go to sort of those dark and uncomfortable places within kind of the psyche, within the subconscious, and to own what it is that you find there. We also have decay. So this is again that energy of you are very willing to cut ties with people, with circumstances that are bringing toxicity into your life, that are sort of thwarting your ability to see yourself as capable of living your best life. And that this is something that others look at as very brave, because again, there might have been something that was very almost like a very scary decision you had to make to move away from something or remove something from your life. Maybe even some kind of battle that you fought within yourself, freeing yourself from maybe addiction or undue stress, kind of toxic work environments, not living up to your full potential, kind of just settling for a life that was more sort of lackluster, that had perhaps led to sort of bitterness or resentment or just kind of a low vibration. Rather than sort of blaming outside circumstances, it's almost like you have been very proactive in sort of extracting yourself, taking the bird's eye view of those situations and circumstances, and creating positive change forward, in the full knowing that it requires or has required in the past the letting go of things or the removal of influences that reinforced kind of the not so great version of yourself. And it provides a lot of encouragement to others to also do that inventory within, to let go of some things that they might have been afraid to let go of, or kind of an arduous path toward change that they might have just sort of chalked up as being too difficult. And yet encountering you, seeing you, watching you move through your world and through your reality, or knowing your experience, it's almost like you give people courage to sort of do the thing that they are most frightened of, make that healthier choice for themselves in whatever way that kind of looks like, because you've walked through that fire and you've come out purified. We also have the fledglings, so more of that energy of like starting over, also kind of baby steps that you take when working toward different goals, or kind of even changing patterns within yourself, sort of rewriting your personal narrative. You have helped to show people that it doesn't have to be kind of all or nothing, but even sort of slight shifts in mindset, from even the idea of like this is possible to kind of like a never say never sort of energy. That's been life changing for certain individuals, to sort of reframe what they may have just felt was something that they were too deeply entrenched in. It was too pervasive. It would require giving up too much in order to move in the direction of something more positive. And the way in which you go through cycles of change or experiences of change. This can also tie into like individuals who have seen you having to rise from the ashes of different circumstances, things that you've voluntarily kind of chosen to burn to the ground in your life, and other things where it's almost just a raw hand was dealt to you, where that might have collapsed a lot of things for you, and how you sort of rose from the ashes of that, bit by bit, day by day, kind of, maybe stumbling at times, but getting back up, trying again. That this is something that has really kind of shifted and changed. It feels like other individuals' perception of what the nature of personal evolution and personal growth looks like. And instead of kind of like a foot race, they almost see through you that things like that are more of a marathon, that it can be a pace rather than something that's kind of all at once or not at all. And we also have the relaxer. So this speaks to kind of a free-spirited energy, sort of a laid-back attitude. Even if you're someone who's very serious, very goal-oriented, very driven, you prioritize rest as something that doesn't have to be earned, but is kind of a necessity or a right almost. And that might help to also kind of encourage others to take time for themselves. But it feels like this also speaks to a degree of like forgiveness that you've applied to yourself for past mistakes, that really has inspired other people to start to reframe for themselves maybe aspects of guilt and shame that they hold within. The way in which you're able to kind of wear your scars with pride, wear that as, the skeletons in your closet as armor in a certain capacity, even if you're not talking about it directly. It might be something where it's evidenced in sort of the before and after version of you, that might not have been very easy to kind of make that quantum leap between those sort of manifested presentations of who you are, and it feels like it's something that has allowed other people in your life, even just on kind of an intuitive level, to start to ease back on themselves, to take that inner critic and mute the volume on that, to be less self-critical, to be more accepting, to understand the full range of the human experience is the ebb and the flow, it is the ups and downs. And we also have Moon, take note of intuitive messages. So this speaks to your instinct, your inner guidance being that compass for you. Your true north is your heart space. It's your higher self. Above and beyond all else, you have reached a point in your life where you are the final authority on what your life is going to look like. And that is something that, again, with this idea of like phases, with the moon here, this can speak to people that have known you for a while or have been kind of observing you for a while, and through some kind of transitions or changes in your life. This can even be sort of like silent spectators that are kind of cheering you on or speaking very well about you, looking at you with kind of this energy of a hero, because they've seen you in kind of the ups and the downs. They've seen you at your worst. They've seen you at kind of your best or the bettering of yourself. And it's something which it feels like is encouraging them to really sort of look within and ask themselves, where am I just kind of stuck in patterns because I'm afraid to change? And yet here's this individual who has maybe made extreme changes or has been forced to change in a very extreme manner, and they've come out on the other side with the essence of kind of like anything is now possible from this point, as many times as those changes have had to happen, to where it feels like it's through this living example, through that element of almost being the hero in your own story, you've inspired or encouraged others to kind of take a proactive approach in the same way for themselves. And we also have Stargazer, set your sights higher. So this really speaks to the idea of a determination to live your best life, but almost like not a fixed, but more of a mutable idea of what that can look like. That at various stages and points in time, you may have resonated with certain things, or you were in certain like relationships, or you had friend circles, or whatever that looks like, maybe a job that you were doing, a lifestyle that you were adhering to. And at the time, that was almost, what resonated with you most specifically, that was something that, you held to a very high standard. It was important to you. It matched kind of a version of you. And when the time came to sort of leave that situation, when you outgrew that, or, discovered, hey, this was a toxic pattern, or I can do better than this, or, I'm selling myself short, kind of remaining in this energy of stagnation, you're very unafraid to kind of make change. But there's also this energy of like a lack of impulsivity. This is kind of charting out a course, mapping out a course, making very calculated moves towards the bettering of self, which it feels like is something that people who know you or who are watching you, these admirers who have good things to say about you, they have a lot of respect for that. Your determination, your patience, your ability to kind of make long range plans. And even if you need to take baby steps to get there, toward even just a very broad idea of, I know that there's something more that is meant for me. I know I can do better than this. I can hold myself to a higher standard. I will not be defeated. I know that I can kind of rebuild, recreate myself, create something out of kind of brokenness or decay that has occurred. That is very inspirational for others, for ways in which they may have just sort of settled with certain things in their life, or had been very afraid to change, or might have thought that it would need to be sort of all or nothing, had not made changes because they felt it had to be just one sweeping action and movement. And yet through your living example, it's almost the idea of even shifting the perspective to change being possible has opened doors of opportunity for these individuals to start to ask those questions for themselves, kind of, where am I settling in my life, and where can I kind of move forth in the direction that I'm most afraid to move at a methodical pace, knowing that on the other side of kind of the inevitable sort of chaos and turbulence that comes with any sort of big change is the ability to kind of expand into more of the fullness of what a fulfilling life can be like. So let's get some initials. This can be a first, middle, or last name, or can spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got D, E, K, L, G, W, P, Q, X, G, T, Y, B, Y, M, T, E, V, and R. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I also sell handmade jewelry, dream catchers, and sun catchers if you're interested in checking any of those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.